Hello, this is Adana, and today I'd like to talk to you about my Book of Shadows. Now, I already have a Book of Shadows video. You can find that over there in my video listing and uploaded stuff, but I have decided to revamp my Book of Shadows completely. Now, I'll still be using the same binder. I do prefer binders over books. I actually looked into books, and I don't like it because I won't be able to keep it organized. I don't do things in an orderly fashion. I do whatever happens to pop into my head, whatever I'm interested in the moment, and that's what I will do an article on and include it in my Book of Shadows. So doing it in a book just doesn't make too much sense because it would all be mixed up. I'd never be able to find anything, I wouldn't be able to reference anything, and it would be more frustrating than helpful. That's why I prefer a binder. Now, I may go ahead and buy a new binder at some point because it is covered in tape to hold it together. But I will be using this binder until I purchase a new one, which isn't really on the top of my to-do list because this one still works okay for the moment. Now, I did go out and buy some things because I want my new Book of Shadows to be pretty, meaning I want to decorate, I want to include pictures, I want to include graphs and colors, and I want it to be pretty. And I'm artistic in my own way, so I got a couple things together, and I want to show you everything I'm going to be using for my Book of Shadows. So the first thing is paper. This is regular white printing paper. I would prefer to have parchment, but I already have the white paper laying around, so I'm just going to use what I have wherever I can to help cut the cost. I don't want to spend $30 just to make a Book of Shadows that's not even going to stay in the same binder, for example. So I have this paper. It's just regular white, and since I'm not going to be using a page protector for each page of my Book of Shadows, I needed something to put holes in, so I bought a 3-ring or a 3-hole hole punch. I love this thing. It can do up to 10 pages at one time, which is awesome. What else I have? I have this. I use lined paper as scrap pieces of paper to write my thoughts out on, to get things in order, to test things out, see how I like a certain design together, things like that. So some other things that I have, I may need to get more of these, but I prefer mechanical pencils. And since most mechanical pencils come with really horrible erasers, although that one that I held up didn't, it actually had a really good eraser. I dropped it. This is a gummy eraser. I have no clue where it came from. It was in my stuff one day, and it's awesome. It is in a foreign language, Japanese or something like that. But this is the best gummy eraser I've ever had the privilege to own. It's awesome. It erases everything. So, other than that, I went ahead and splurged and bought myself some Sharpies. I've got black, brown, blue, green, yellow, red, orange, and then some colored pens, which is the same color scheme, except it doesn't have yellow, and there's 2 shades of blue, 2 shades of green. I bought both because I didn't really know what exactly I was going to do, and I wanted to be able to do any kind of style and not have it look really messed up, because I'm not really sure how fine the Sharpie tips are. In my experience, Sharpie tips usually aren't fine. This one says it's fine, so I might have gotten lucky this time. But even fine ones may be too thick for some of the designs I was wanting to do. Speaking of designs, I went ahead and made a template for my Book of Shadows. Now, what do I mean by a template? I mean this. There's 2 of them. What is this for? Well, this outlines, this inner square in here outlines where my border will be. Actually, well, yeah, in here. This section right here is where I'm going to be writing all my information, and up here is where the heading is going to be. Now, if the heading is big, I'll use this template. If it's not, then I'll use this template. And wherever there's a square is pretty much where there's going to be a border. So it's very simple. All I do is choose the template I want to use, put a white piece of paper over it, and then, because I did it in black ink, you can see a line through it, and then I just follow that line when I draw things out. And I wanted to do some decorative work on the fonts, so I came up with 2 different fonts. These are all freehand, and there will be some edits to it. But the top right here will be the first letter in the description, will be done like this. My way of thinking is that the actual letter will be black, and so will the border, but the background will be color-coded. And the main header will be these. So the first letter of a word will be capitalized, and everything else will be lowercase, but it'll look pretty much like this. And I also want to do some borders. I couldn't decide which border, so I made a collection of sample templates to work from that I wanted to share with you. Now these are not as dark as the rest of them because I did not go over these in black ink. I only sketched them out in pencil. So bear with me here. You may not even be able to see some of them. I will not use all of these. I would choose 5 basic ones. And wherever there's something decorative like the circle or a square or this right here, that's pretty much going to be the corner. And wherever there's not anything decorative, then there won't be a corner. It will just be a right angle and then slightly switch direction of the design. And then there's one more on a second piece of paper, only on one side though. Alright. Now, how I want to divide my book of shadows. Well, I took inspiration from the 5 elements and assigned pretty much everything that will be in there to an element. And that is pretty much outlined in color-coded. Why am I doing it color-coded? Because I want to know what kind of article I'm looking at a glance. Because the way I organize things, okay, let me give you an example here. Say, I want to write an article on candle magic. Well, the first article will be some background information on candle magic. What it's used for, what the associations are, how it's done, symbolism, that sort of thing. And then following directly behind that will be an example ritual or spell for candle magic, and following that will be specific spells I've used in the past for candle magic. And the information page will be different from the spell page. The information page will be blue because it goes along with correspondences and beliefs and background information. But the spell page will actually be red. And just by leafing through it, I can tell the difference between the two at a glance because the border will be red and orange, and the little letter will have a red background with black ink. So I will know at a glance what kind of article I'm looking at, but I will keep it all together in one section. And that's pretty much how it's going to be through the entire book. Because I really don't want to segregate it to where, you know, I have a description of candle magic in this section, but then I have to flip 50 pages before I get to an actual spell for candle magic. That seems very disjointed to me. So I just want to open it up and kind of use it like an encyclopedia, but arrange it in a way that's a little bit more helpful and makes more sense to the way I use my book. So in the beginning will be things like correspondences and beliefs, and then it'll move on to things like herbs and woods and recipes, and then it'll go from there to deity, or it'll go from there to Sabbats, and then it'll go to deities, and then go to magic, or I might make it goes to deities, Sabbats, and magic, or whatever. Either way, it'll flow in a way that's appropriate for my style. And like I said in my other book, I prefer or my other video, I prefer to handwrite everything. So that is my goal, to make this pretty, to put a lot of effort into it, and make it usable at the same time. So the color correspondences that I'm using for each section is inspired by the elements. So there's yellow with a complementary color of brown to accent it. Then there's red with orange, and then purple with pink. And then since I have 2 shades of blue and 2 shades of green, it'll just be just the 2 shades of blue and just the 2 shades of green and the color coding stuff. Excuse me. So that's pretty much my plan. I have not started it yet. I also have a ruler. This came in handy when drawing my template out. Forgot to include it before, and I also have page protectors. But that is my plan, and I will update you as I go along after I choose which borders and figure out exactly the layout and all that good stuff. I would like to note that before I include anything on paper, I always write it out on my computer, and I go over it, walk away for a day, come back to it, edit it, add more to it, or take it out, walk away, and then do it until I'm completely satisfied with the article. And then once I'm satisfied with it, I copy it down by hand from my computer onto the paper and then add that to my book of shadows. So my process is a very long one, but it's very meticulous. Very meticulous. So that's it. Thank you for watching. Feel free to leave a comment, video response, message me, whatever. See you later.